Hello and welcome back to the Student Hub Live Refreshers Orientation event. There are loads of new students out there. You're all terribly excited and very conscientious, I must say, about your studies. And I hope that I've introduced you to some people who are going to make your studies a lot better and have shown you some things about the Open University that you maybe didn't know about. And we've talked a lot today about various things like stationery and biscuits. And we've had our Wheel of Ologies quiz and learned a lot about planets in the process. We've also had some life science and watched various things blow up and explode and light on fire. We've had a really fun day. And this evening's session, right now we're going to look at Ambitious Futures, a title that may seem a little bit esoteric, but actually is all about the graduate programme. And I'm joined by Gemma and Scott to talk about this. Now, this is something that I hadn't known about and is really interesting because the thing with the Open University is there's so many projects and initiatives that are absolutely amazing, whereas a lot of people think that we're just about producing all these module materials and teaching students, but so much goes on behind the scenes that people aren't aware of. And you wanted to tell us about the Ambitious Futures graduate scheme, which Gemma, you're involved with, and Scott, you're on. Yes. So a brilliant opportunity for us to find out more. So what is this scheme all about?
Yeah, so it's a national graduate scheme. So it's for the whole of the HE sector. There's over 13 universities that participate across the UK in this scheme. And the idea is to is to get graduates onto the programme and working within the university environment. So it's a real great opportunity for our graduates to sort of experience the other side of university life and come and see about a prospective career in HE.
So this is about HE and careers in HE, because there's lots that go on apart from lecturing and sort of writing module materials. This is about the, I guess, administrative and academic related side of running a university. That is really exciting, and a lot of us get sort of hooked into because it's often so much more interesting. And Scott, you're on the programme. Now, you've just joined us, haven't you?
I have, yes. I joined actually 4 weeks ago.
So the first 4 weeks of an 18-month or so programme. So how have you experienced then this whole thing? Tell us about what's happened in the last 4 weeks for you.
Okay, so it's been quite intensive. So in the first week, I actually had an induction up in Manchester with the Ambitious Futures scheme. So it's meeting graduates from other universities, and we went through sort of quite an intensive induction programme to give us a good general overview of the HE sector. And then since then I've moved in with enhanced employability and career progression within the university. Oh, wow. So it's actually part of the Students First strategy. And I've been carrying out some work with them within project management, particularly relating to mapping of student employability.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been quite, like I say, a lot to take in a short period of time, but it's been very good so far and very promising.
So Gemma, you said that lots of universities are involved in this, and you've been up meeting some of the other people. Now, how does it work? I mean, it's 18 months in length, and people will have 3 placements, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first and the third placement will be with their host university. So when they apply for the scheme, they'll choose a university that they wish to work for. So, for example, the Open University. So they'll have their first and third placement with them. And then the second placement will be with another university on the scheme. So it's a really great opportunity to experience 2 different types of universities. Yeah. So from a Russell Group University to, other institutions that have unique points like the OU who are totally online. So.
Excellent. But you'd obviously prefer, I guess, to get OU students applying for this particular scheme, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it'd be fantastic to get a lot more OU graduates coming on the scheme and selling the OU story. They've experienced the journey as an OU student.
A very unique journey.
Absolutely, and it is unique. And for them to go to other universities and to sort of spread that story really would be fantastic.
We've asked people whether they'd be interested in pursuing a career in higher education leadership. 47% have said yes, so 18% have said no, and 35% have said they're not sure. So for those who are not sure, tell us about some of the skills. I mean, you mentioned project management, and there are all sorts of things that you learn on a degree that you have a fantastic opportunity to implement using statistics and mapping, and various sorts of skills that you're learning are really, done in a unique way in an HE setting.
Yeah, so I think, the HE sector, universities are such a vibrant place to work, and it's becoming ever so much more challenging now to work in the sector. So, This scheme is really about providing people with those great skills to become great people leaders. And they will have skills, build up skills in project management, stakeholder engagement, lots of relationship building skills, and also presentation skills. So it's the type of skills that they can take anywhere with them, really, and not just the HE sector.
No, absolutely. So we've talked about some of the skills that you can develop. I did just want to ask whether it had met your expectations, because you've gone through this process of applying, and we'll talk a little bit about how that works. But right here in week 4, you're learning a lot. You're immersed in a really vibrant community, both in terms of the, the scheme as well as at the Open University. Has it met your expectations, Scott?
Yeah, if being honest, I know it's a cliche, but it's actually exceeded my expectations. I think looking into where I am now, in this position where I was, say, a few months ago, and being in university, it's amazing to be sort of immersed in this sort of environment with a lot of highly talented people and actually being able to contribute to some of the work so early on. So yeah, for me, it's really been great, and the people are absolutely fantastic here.
They are. Well, we've met lots of them, and they're absolutely incredible in the various things that they do. So we've talked about some of the aspects that might interest people in terms of the vibrancy, the diversity, in terms of HE. But if there's this graduate scheme and you're doing 18 months in it, what then? I mean, what sort of things would you use this experience for? Is it just applicable to HE, or could you go into other careers in leadership, management, etc., by using some of this experience?
Yeah, so as I say, the general skills that they build up, sort of project management skills and the leadership skills, are transferable across any sector. Yeah. But really, if we look at some of the graduates that have been through the scheme already, they've built careers in, so the jobs they've gone on to are things like marketing and communication, international recruitment, general project management skills. So there's so many jobs that they can, diversify into because of what they've built up over the 18 months, really.
And what were your motivations then in terms of applying? You say it met your expectations. Was it just, what is the salary range actually?
Yeah, so anywhere between 24,000 and 27,500, depending on the university. Okay. So when they apply, it would be different salary for each of the universities.
Okay, so that's a good amount. So why did you choose to apply then, Scott?
Yeah, so for me personally, I wasn't actually aware of this scheme. I'll be perfectly honest, I wasn't aware of this scheme until about 8 or 9 months ago. And but I really wanted to find a way to stay within academia. I was considering going on to do a master's, and I thought, is there anything I can do without having to go down that route and sort of having to fund to go on to the master's again? So looking at this scheme, I saw that it was advertising for leadership qualities. It was going to really develop these sort of key skills and the project management elements as well. And I thought, if I can stay involved within academia, it's going to be a great thing to do. And also on a more personal note, going through my sort of academic experience at university and being a mature student myself, I really loved the ethos of the Open University and the whole social mobility. So I thought for myself, through studying, it's really helped me to get into this position. It's really, given me this opportunity. So I can't emphasise that enough, that, the ethos of the Open University really did appeal to me, and the university sector as a whole.
Yeah. And whilst you say that these skills are transferable, actually working in HE is a huge area, isn't it? There's so many people employed to do a variety of things. We had the Research and Academic Strategy Office up there doing the quiz earlier, but there are so many very, very interesting jobs that can happen in the HE sector. So could you tell us briefly about that? Having a role in the university enables you to experience lots across all the disciplines. So from HR to communications, marketing, and then there's the student-facing areas, so that take all of the phone calls from the students. So there is so much that they can diversify in. And I think if you're a staff member within the university, you have so much opportunity to do shadowing and placements, and really getting involved in any area that you fancy, really. So it's a great opportunity to experience any kind of role. So we've been talking a lot about apprenticeships recently. Is this sort of like an apprenticeship scheme then, in terms of getting some work-based learning experience?
Yeah, so it is about work-based learning. So when you're on the scheme, there's you go through a learning experience. So you pick up a qualification, and you can take that theory.
I love it. Pick up a qualification.
Yeah, pick up a qualification.
We all know it's that easy.
That's it. Absolutely. Well, it is for these guys out there.
Oh,
I mean,
they're good.
To be an OU student, you've got to have some fantastic skills, haven't you? So so it's going through a programme of learning while you're on the scheme, and transferring that back into the placements that you undertake as you go through. So yeah, it's really building up some great key skills.
Now, this is an early stage of opting in that the Open University are involved with this programme, which is brilliant. It's been going for a little bit of time now, and hopefully it's going to continue over the next few years. We've got a lot of Level 1 students here at the Student Hub who are just starting their journey, so they're not due to really graduate within the next year. But the ones who are, if they're graduating in the next year, we asked them if they'd be interested in applying for the next intake in September 2018. Let's see what they said. 57% said yes, so that is good, okay? 43% said no. So a lot of people interested in applying, and as you say, you'd like OU students to be able to apply, even though anyone could apply for this at any university. But there must be criteria and sort of process. So talk us through who's eligible and what do people do?
Yeah, sure. So you can have a degree in any discipline, so it doesn't matter what your degree's in, you can apply. As long as you've got a 2-1 or above, that's the national standard that they would like for the scheme. As long as you've graduated within the last 5 years or about to graduate before September 2018, then you can apply for this round, and application process is already open for this round. So it's just about going to the Ambitious Futures website and applying via that. And it will be an online application process first of all, and then it will proceed through to a video interview, and then finally an assessment centre. And then from there, it's you know, if you're employed, great, fantastic, your journey begins.
Wow, excellent. Let's take a quick trip to HJ and see what's happening on the hot desk.
There's a lot of people that are interested in this. They said they haven't heard it before, so they're liking the opportunity to hear about it. And I put the links in the chat so we can have a save and look at all the detailed information as well. But we're just talking about like the accessibility of the programme. So some programmes are quite flexible with things like age and additional needs and things like that. So like Fast Stream's a good example. What would you say about, because the OU has a large population of disabled students, about them applying as well? Maybe some reassurances on that part.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it'd be fantastic to hear from whoever's interested, and of course, the OU is an open employer. We'd love to hear from anyone who's interested, and of course, we'd talk to them about accommodating their needs in any way that needs to be accommodated.
What are some of the attributes that you think enable people to succeed in this sort of programme?
Definitely motivation. So it's a real desire, and as Scott said, it's that desire to want to stay within academia, within HE, and to experience that sort of journey for the student on the other side and make a difference. I think if you want to make a difference in learning and lifelong learning, then it's a perfect place to be.
And the OU is somewhere that, as you say, is really committed to that. And actually, a lot of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes makes a massive change in terms of people's ability to be able to connect with us, both in terms of the curriculum and accessibility and various things, and the mapping that you're looking at, Scott, is really interesting too. What do you think, Scott, people might need to be in a role like this? Is it a scary place? Are there lots of sort of management things going on? Because I often think, higher education must be quite stern. There must be a lot of important things and minutes and, formalities and things that, people might think, oh, that sounds a bit boring or scary. In maybe not that order.
No, I think the thing about higher education, I've done several other jobs before coming into the academic environment, and to be honest, it's a challenging environment in a good way. It's very stimulating to be around, like I mentioned earlier, so many sort of really intelligent and sort of driven people, and having that sort of mentality and that positivity really does bring out the best in you. So I think for people who are concerned about that, I think, be open to, it's going to be challenging, but it'll bring the best out of you. It really has for me in such a short period of time. I'm really transferring a lot of my degree skills into the work environment, and it's really taken me up to that next level, I feel.
It's incredible. I often think there's so many amazing people here at the OU who often end up being incredibly specialist in a very, very small area, like learning analytics or this, that and the other. And actually they know an awful lot about one thing, but you can go to a meeting and they might not know much about what you're doing. And it's a really sort of nice space to be able to say, actually, I don't know about that, fill me in. And, you might ask them about various things, but no one's at that sort of hierarchical level where they're all of a sudden very important and it becomes a little bit scary. It's a great space for, exchanging knowledge based on, I guess, what you know, and it's okay not to know everything.
No, definitely. I think you're right in saying that sort of hierarchical structure. It's not like your traditional sort of corporation or, that. Because, the other sort of graduate schemes I looked into, it was very much, they were looking for a very specific type of person. Whereas with this one, it really did encourage you to bring out your own strengths. They're not looking for just a lot of clones. They want, individual people who are going to contribute something different. So I think, for me, that was a real sort of a draw of it when I was going through the recruitment process. I thought, actually, they want me to be myself, and that's, really encouraging.
And had you studied with the OU first?
Yes, I actually did a certificate of higher education in humanities. So anyone doing AA 100, A 105, I've done those before. And then I was actually in the armed forces when I did that. And then afterwards, I transferred into full-time education with the University of Buckingham to finish my degree. So, yeah.
Wow. What sort of things have people gone on to do, Gemma, who've gone through the scheme?
All sorts. We've got some people who have continued in sort of an academic sense and gone for more sort of PhD areas, but we've also had people that are doing marketing work, project management, policy research, international recruitment of students. So there's such a diverse range that they've gone on to do. But there's loads of case studies on the Ambitious Futures website which talks about what people have gone on to do.
And what are you hoping to do at the end of it? Not that you're wishing the time away, Scott, of course, but...
Yeah, it's difficult at the moment. I've come into this with a very open mind. Like, I want to see what there is out there, and I think that's the beauty of doing 3 separate placements. At the moment, I'm quite keen to try out research management. That's something perhaps I can look into in the 3rd placement, which as of yet hasn't been agreed. So that's what my initial thoughts are, but I'm very much open and I want to see where I am in a year's time to see where I really want to go.
And what about this idea of sort of swapping between things, almost as you get settled in 6 months down the line? How do you feel about going to Cambridge?
Yeah, going to Cambridge I think is going to really give a different aspect of higher education and a different way of running an institution. So I think having that versatility for going to another university and finding out how they run as well, I think is going to benefit me personally, and then hopefully when I come back to the OU, sort of benefit the team I'm within as well, might bring in some fresh ideas, things like that. So I think, as you said, about 3 separate placements and jumping from one to the other, I think it's a good thing. It's not easy to do, but it's a good thing because ultimately you're going to get a huge amount of different skills across a broad spectrum within the short space of time of 18 months. So it's very good. And it's like I say, for those transferable skills, it doesn't have to just apply to higher education. It can go into anything really.
Okay. Now we've got some links and possibly a video as well that we can also share at the end of this session. But the application process opens quite soon. So can you give us an idea of the timescales and what people might do?
Yeah, absolutely. So the online process is open now, so they can log into the Ambitious Futures website and join online to answer questions. From there, they'll be asked to participate in a video interview. And then it will be whittled down, and of course they'll go through an assessment centre. But it's open, the online process is open until the end of January, and then the assessment centre will be around March time.
Okay, so people can find out more about that, and we've put the links in about the Ambitious Futures website, and also there's a promotional video that we've shared in the chat as well. So that all sounds great. How many people do you think are going to apply?
Oh, I hope loads. The more the better. The more the better.
And if people can't or aren't eligible to apply this year because they haven't graduated, is this something that you expect to be ongoing? I know it's early days yet for the OU.
Yeah, we would love to keep going with it. Other universities are fully involved with it. So, across the UK, there are plenty of universities that are participating and will continue to do so.
Brilliant. It sounds like a fantastic programme.
It is absolutely fantastic, and the people we've had through, and the other graduate trainees that we've met are just so amazing, and they've got so much enthusiasm for it.
Brilliant. Well, Scott and Gemma, thank you so much for filling
Thank
us
you.
in on that. We're going to take a short video break and we'll show you the Legacy Garden now, which is another lovely area on campus. And then we'll be back for some discussion about religious studies. So join me in a couple of minutes for our next session. See you soon.